Welcome to the AI Lab Unfiltered podcast. I am Drew Veach, and I'm joined by Pete Tarrin.
Hello.
And we are in the beautiful Studio Jefferson right in Grand Rapids, Michigan. And I do want to give a big shout out to Think Tank Thought Leadership. They are the producers of this podcast, and they help us distribute it, and they help with our ratings, our analytics. They kind of help us all the way around. We really appreciate their help. Wouldn't be able to do this without them, right, Pete?
Absolutely. We are way over our head. This would not be happening if it would just be two guys with a cell phone uploading this to YouTube if it wasn't for
exactly
Think Tank. So thanks everyone that's helping make that happen.
Exactly. And today we've got a special guest. I guess you could say I was paid to say that because I work with you, and I noticed you got the memo of wearing the same shirt. Yeah. I'd just like to call that out, that we like to dress well. But we've got Mr. Brian McKeiver, the co-owner of BizStream. Brian, why don't you take a bow?
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, Pete. I'm happy to be here.
Thanks for coming on.
Yeah.
So this started because you and I were talking about AI agents, and that's what I wanted to talk about today, is kind of using AI agents and kind of how AI in business workflows. Because you've actually challenged me on a few things in passing, because clearly you and I are completely into AI. And I know you are as well, from, I would say, even a higher level, because you're a business owner and you're looking at where can this really apply to business sizes and scalability. And you've challenged me on a lot of things to where you really got to look at what those business needs are and how to shape that up before you apply the tool. I think I get a little flighty, and I know you get the same way, where it's like, oh, this tool does this really cool stuff. Totally. What do I use it for? So you actually came up with an example that you shared with me the other day about using ChatGPT's operator.
Yeah.
Can you tell me more about that?
Sure. So before we get into operator, let's take half a step back, right? And in case you're not familiar with what agentic AI or AI agents is as a topic, I think we should maybe explain that first, because the operator is an example of that, right?
Exactly.
So I think that very, very much your episodes, your content speak to people learning about AI, and the first thing they gravitate to is a ChatGPT or a chatbot or however, Copilot in the Microsoft world.
Yep.
And that makes a lot of sense. But what's happening, I think, as a next level to that is this idea of agents. And it's not where it's you as a person asking a question and having an LLM respond to you. The idea is an agent is going and doing something for you. So it's an action, it's doing a task. And that opens up this idea of kind of solving for a workflow for a business process or business need, right? And it's different than you as the person typing something and hitting go. It's autonomous, which means kind of behind the scenes on its own, and it's doing things that you don't even know. And you don't need to know, because you can actually like close your laptop, walk away and come back, and that task is done. And that's what we need to do in business to be more efficient, right? So how can we automate processes? How can we solve needs? And this new AI agent thing is like the promise. And I think it's really become more popular in the last like 3 or 4 months, because as we know, as we've talked about, right, guys, this stuff changes so fast all the time. And luckily enough, when I was at the Microsoft MVP Summit, I got some special kind of inside training and knowledge about these agents and how they work. We won't go into the technical part of it because you've asked me not to. That's fine. But the whole idea is like, what if you want to automate looking at your email and then having something happen as a result? What if you want to automate trying to fill out a form, trying to look for a restaurant reservation, a booking of a travel? And that's the one we'll get into here in a second. That normally, me as a person, I have to go to something. I have to go to my phone. I have to go to a computer, a website, do a lot of like hunting and pecking and like changing things. And like eventually I can kind of get down to where, you know, I have that right flight or that right hotel, or I have a restaurant that my wife will actually enjoy going to with me. You know, that's a whole nother episode, but we'll skip that for now. That's what AI agents, that's the promise. They're going to be able to do that for us. And if you believe all the large hype around the large tech companies, it's going to change our world yet again. So just like chat has kind of changed things, AI agents is the next like frontier, if you will. So to take it to that example you asked me about, and this is something that we were sitting in the training rooms at Microsoft, and they're explaining some of these things to us. And I was with a friend of mine who happens to also be in Grand Rapids, also in the AI space, Jonathan, or Jay Tower, as a friend of ours, and he's another business owner here. And we were talking about how his son had taken on this great new internship. And the internship was in Washington, D.C. And the internship starts in like 3 months. So they had a long wait process, and that went on hold, and like they weren't sure if they were going to get it. So they eventually got it at the time that we were sitting in the meeting room together.
Nice.
And then he looked at me and went, "Oh, crap. My son needs someplace to live." And if you know anything about Washington, D.C., it's incredibly dense and packed, and it's expensive, and it's hard to find places to live as an adult, let alone a teenager who needs a partial apartment for only a certain amount of time, not like a full year. So what would you do? Well, I mean, if you guys had that scenario, what would you guys do, right?
Probably be Googling the shit out of that one.
Yeah, you're Googling your, maybe you have friends that live in the area, you're reaching out. But, you got a short time frame here. You got 3 months to get that set up. Like, that's not
very quickly.
Yeah. And that's what he did. And as we're talking about it, he's thinking, well, I was there once and I knew that like Arlington has a spot that was close to where this place was. And he's Googling it. And I went, wait a minute. Why don't we use this new thing they're telling us about? And Microsoft has a version of it, which is actually out now as of like a week or two ago. But ChatGPT was there a little first, or OpenAI was there a little first. And they have this thing called the operator. And if you have the very top level subscription, you get access to it. And what it is this whole idea of AI that can navigate a computer for you, navigate a browser, do Google searches for you. So you start by the same way you always start with this AI stuff is you do prompt it, or you type a question and say, here's what I'd like to do. And he put in, all right, I'd like to find an apartment for rent based off these date ranges. And by the way, we don't have a ton of money for this. So like try to keep it somewhat, not
respectable.
crazy.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't have $25,000 a night to spend on an apartment.
Exactly.
Right? And I need this kind of location because my son won't have a car. So public transport's important to us.
Yep.
And he started putting that in, this large prompt, and he hit go. And what happens next is truly amazing. The screen changes, it shifts to the left, and suddenly you see like a Safari, I think it was Safari, maybe it's Chrome, browser window come up inside of your browser. And you take your hands off the keyboard and the keys, and you do nothing. And suddenly the mouse starts driving. It starts navigating to booking.com. It fills in, Washington, D.C. apartments. It's literally typing it for you, and you're doing nothing. You're just sitting there.
So it's like a ghost is doing this, but it's using the same tools you would.
Yeah. And
No
AI
kidding.
is driving the whole way. And it understands how to actually like add filters. Like it put in 1-bedroom apartment in the little filter sidebar that you were used to, right? It put in, the funny part was it changed the slider. It moved for price. It went, instead of just unlimited price, it went down to like $2,000.
No kidding.
Wow.
And you're watching it do all this and you're thinking, man, this is like the future. Like the future's here, right? And then it started searching, and you could see it's almost like it got kind of lost because it was back and forth. And funny enough, we're in this room and we're in a session completely paying attention, of course. And the session ends, and there's other sessions in other rooms that we want to get to, and the thing is still going in the browser, right? And then operator's doing its thing. It's trying to search for more rooms. It's not finding results, and you can see it like going back and forth. And we're like, well, crap. Like, we need to leave. So I didn't know, can I like just shut my laptop and pick it up? And is this still going to work?
Right.
And sure enough, so we shut the laptop, we walked away, came into another room, sat down next to each other, and we forgot about it. Started listening to the new speaker. And like 10 minutes later, I'm like, oh, like, did it work? Right?
Yeah.
So open up the laptop, log back into my machine, and sure enough, the window comes up and it says 9 minutes later, hey, I was able to find this room. I recommend you checking out this one. And literally the screen has the detail page of a booking of a house that had a partial room in Washington, D.C. in the area we wanted. The only thing it couldn't do what we asked for was the price. It was a crazy expensive room. But you can see, like, not only did it kind of do what we were wanting to without us having to think about it, without us having to do input, change things, it could do it on its own time frame. We as humans could go do other things and come back. That's the promise, right? And it was just, this is the infancy of these things, right? These things haven't been around that long. It's only going to get better. It's going to get faster.
Yep.
More accurate. You know, it's like this agent is working for us. It's doing work for us. And I think if you can take that to the business world, just imagine what that opens up for us, right? Hey, I'm a support ticket worker on a support desk for an organization, and I have 30 tickets. I'm going to kick off an agent to tell me which one of these do I need to worry about, which of them are standard things that we already have answers for in our documentation, and maybe like do that process for me. So that's what the vision of AI agents are, and Operator is a special use case of them. It doesn't have to be that advanced or that expensive. Those types of agents are called computer use agents, or CUAs, and that's kind of a new term you'll probably start hearing more and more about as we go down. But you can kind of dial it back a little bit to just even inside of standard, chatbot interfaces. When you click the button that says generate image or create image, or you do deep research, behind the scenes, that's actually like an AI agent doing that one little task for you, and you're enabling it. But pretty soon, the idea will be that agents can be created for almost anything, and it's a task. It's a single task. And on top of the single task agents, there'll be orchestrator agents. There'll be a management team, and they'll be telling one person to do scheduling, and not person, I should say. One agent, one piece of AI will handle calendar scheduling. Another piece will handle the communication, the email part of it, and suddenly you'll have a team kind of working for you as your personal assistant, all done in AI agents. So it's going to be amazing.
So that begs a question, that's something that you tipped on. You said, well, and then this person, the AI agent, do you think this is going to replace people at that point? Like, is that part of the promise too? Or is this going to enhance? Now you can offload the lower lining stuff when you're in your job, and then the rest you can focus on higher stuff.
Yeah. My belief is you're never going to replace people. We know how to handle day-to-day things that programmers and AI just won't know yet, right? I still think it elevates us as individuals to be able to do more important things. But the menial small tasks, yes, I do think that's going to completely change the way we work. In fact, on our team, Dave, he's got an AI agent running now to check his email and tell him, have I missed anything? Just be my double check. Every couple of days, look through my unread emails, maybe my starred emails, and then it's autonomously working. And when that exception comes up of like, hey, you missed this, you didn't reply to this person within 7 days or whatever he's doing, it's telling him in a Slack message that's fully automated, hey, here's what I think you should do as the next step on this email because you forgot to respond. You should probably do it, right?
Yep.
So it really
prompting too.
It's this whole idea of like allowing us to do more, and not having to worry about the low level stuff, like you said.
You said elevate people, which I love that idea. It reminds me of an example. So I was talking with a woman. She's involved with Habitat for Humanity, and we were talking about something completely different, but I brought up AI because I bring up AI in every conversation I have with everybody I talk to. And she was older, so she was by her own admission, like just not into technology at all. She's a wonderful, wonderful woman. And she has to spend a lot of her time fundraising to keep things going. So she's great with people, but she also has to spend a lot of her time grant writing, trying to get money for the organization. So I'm having conversations with her about how do we use AI I love that, I'm going to steal that elevate term and use that more going forward. How do we elevate you to where you're spending more time with people? Because that's her superpower. Mm-hmm. It's versus spending time writing grants, which AI can do brilliantly. Mm-hmm. So you are allowing by doing that, you're replacing the mundane, the repeatable, and you're allowing people to really be in their element. Like whatever their superpower is, now we can really capitalize on that because we're not being distracted or having to spend time. And she's working till 9 or 10 o'clock every night because she's got to get these grants written, but she also has to go meet with all these people that are, giving money to the organization and shaking hands and kissing babies and that whole thing. Right. But she could much better use her time and get a lot of her life back because she's so passionate about this. She'll give her whole life to this organization because she believes in what they're doing. But she could have a whole gob of her life back if we could take that stuff away.
Well, again, in like the previous discussion we had, is AI robbing our intelligence and ability to critically think, or is it enhancing us? And I think this is a prime example of here's how AI can augment what you do versus replace what you do. It definitely takes those tasks off of there. In those tasks, when you set it up for an agent, are they pretty linear, or can it go in different directions? Like how does that, like what kind of task can you put in there? You mentioned the one example, but to set up and to really get people to think of this is where I can use it. Can you expand a little bit more on that?
Yeah. I think the best use case I've heard for this type of technology is agents should be single purpose. They do one thing really, really well, and you can hone in and like tweak that and adjust it and make it work. So classic example, like I want to do a restaurant reservation. There are certain things you need to know about restaurant reservations from am I using open table, which most restaurants use? Am I making a phone call, text to speech? Like, what am I doing to make that reservation? There's so much to worry about just that one action. That's where you should focus your AI agents on. And when you build these things, Microsoft and OpenAI and Google, all the big players have agent frameworks now for people like us to actually make the agents. If we can make them single purpose and really good at that one thing, then there's techniques to combine multiple agents together, and even through just a normal ChatGPT interface and say, hey, I'd like to do this and this. It'll figure out what agent to use. And it may ask you, hey, I think you want to do this. Should we probably use this agent to do that? And you can say yes, right? So there's that human connection, that human in the loop is what they call that, to make sure that it's kind of going in the right direction. But then once you approve that and say, yes, I do want to make a restaurant reservation for, Butcher's Union here on the west side of Grand Rapids or wherever, boom, it's off, it's running, it's doing its thing, and it's going to work for some amount of time, maybe short, maybe a little bit long. But then it's come back to you and say, yep, I'm good. Do you want to approve this? So I would recommend think of it as they are single purpose tasks, but you can combine them. There's a term that's called like an AI agent swarm. And there's this orchestrator or sort of agent in charge that
kind of like the manager of it.
Yeah. It knows which triggers to pull or what actions to do. And there you go.
You talked about some frameworks. So for our listeners who are interested in agentic AI and they've maybe, because I'm a visual learner, so I love these frameworks because it allows me to kind of really see it all laid out. And could you speak to a couple of maybe the more popular frameworks? So if somebody wanted to go look those up out of this, and they can kind of go see that for themselves, watch some YouTube videos or whatever.
Sure. So again, being the Microsoft MVP that I am, I'll start with Microsoft's framework, and it's called Copilot Studio. So Microsoft Copilot Studio is a way for anyone who's not even a developer to actually work with kind of making an agent in a very visual way. You actually can just type the instructions. Hey, I'd like an agent that can do restaurant reservation planning. It should be able to do this and this, focus on these things. So it's almost like you're making a system prompt or a set of instructions on what you want this thing to do. And when you make that in Copilot Studio, you can either use existing connectors to technology actions, which behind the scenes call APIs, but it makes it a kind of, I need a calendar assistant that can make calendar appointments on my Outlook, or I need a booking.com API. It has all these things built in, Dynamics CRM capabilities, hotels, lots of places have the connectors, and you can kind of say, these are the instructions, I want to use these connectors, go. And then you can actually say, I want to test it right here in just in a browser, or I actually, if I have the ability to, can say, I'd like to publish this to my teams in my company. And of course, your company teams administrator has to approve it, but that's a great way to get started. There's tons of examples. So Copilot Studio is the way to do that. And then you can, in the Microsoft world, you can drop to all the way to like full code solutions, which we won't talk about here. But another outside of Microsoft, further way that I really recommend checking out is Crew.ai. So that's a third-party SaaS tool, and it has this idea of agents as a part of it. And it's really becoming more popular. I see it more and more in a lot of the research that I do. And there's many more. I mean, you just honestly search for in Google AI agents, and you're going to get a ton of stuff.
Yeah.
And about 5 new ones every day that come out.
Exactly. N8N is another one. It's one that I've probably spent the most time looking at myself. There's tons of great content out there for that. But going back to Copilot Studio, because I imagine, especially if there's business owners listening to this or anybody that works, they're probably using the Microsoft Suite at work. If I'm, Joe Smith at ABC Corporation, and I'm listening to this podcast, I'm like, I want to go build some agents in Copilot Studio. Is it built into the basic suite that you get from Microsoft? Is there an additional charge? Like how do I access this if I want to get into it?
Sure. There's, I would say it's mostly built in. As long as you have an M365 subscription, you basically have access to the majority of it.
Okay.
There are some more customizable, more configurable, more advanced things that you need to pay for, what's called like Azure AI Services or Azure AI Foundry. And it will lead you on that path if you need to get to it. But I would say just to like get something started, to get to learn. I actually gave a presentation at a user group here in West Michigan a little earlier this year about this. And one of the things that we did was make an assistant that could tell us about things to do in West Michigan. And what you can do, one of the connectors or one of the sets of knowledge, they call it, is you can point it at a website and say, I'd like to use this website as a source of knowledge for this assistant. And we pointed it at, I think, Hello West Michigan or what's it, GR Now or something where, it lists like events coming up in West Michigan, restaurants, things to do. We put that as our knowledge source. We just typed in the URL, hit OK, consented to the fact that, we're going to use this in a good way, ethical way. And then I had it answer to people in the audience, what's coming up in May in West Michigan, or what's the top 5 restaurants. And it's funny because we could play around with it, and you can put instructions to say, make sure you answer this way, but never answer it this way. So we made some jokes about Ohio in there, and we'll just leave that as it is, and how our, West Michigan things to do are a little bit better.
So to maybe talk about it in more an agentic way, you could have another connector that says, also register me for that event. Like put the human in the loop. Say, hey, Brian, I found, there's this concert coming up at Frederick Meyer Gardens. Do you want me to buy tickets for you? And it prompts you, because you don't want to just have it go buy things willy-nilly without your knowledge. Mm-hmm. It's a technical term, willy-nilly.
Willy-nilly?
Yeah. But so it's going to ask you, and then if you say yes, then it could go buy those tickets for you. Like that's really making it more agentic and more like autonomous, right? And like taking you out of having to log into the Frederick Meyer Gardens website and buying your ticket and do all that.
Yep.
Like can you, I haven't done this, but I'm assuming, can you load your credit card information to it and it'll go? So
not yet. That is where they're currently still working on the idea of like your profile inside of an agent. It's going to recommend, here, go to this URL. I'll get you to the right place to buy the tickets. And that's probably where it's going to stop today for the public technology that's available.
Yep.
Privately behind the scenes, they are a little further than that. But the vision is for the computer use agents, the operator thing, you will kind of give it consent to use anything that's personally identifiable, name, email, address, anything that's a payment, or even a login, like log into LinkedIn for me and, discover things in LinkedIn or write a recommendation. You're going to have to consent to allow it to do those things. They're still working on that. I mean, I've seen some early prototypes of it, but they have a ways to go before I think especially in e-commerce transactions are like totally enabled, which is good because people love rushing to new technology. I'm a firm believer that we have to do it in the right way. We have to be responsible with our use cases and the way AI works, and ethics are a huge part of it. So I applaud them for actually like slowing down right now a little bit to make sure that stuff is safe, secure, responsible, because you could go the wrong way pretty quickly on some of this stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I hate to flip the coin on it and talk about anything negative, and you don't have to be specific to anything with Microsoft or ChatGPT, but what do you see as being really overhyped right now with AI?
That's a good question. I think that when I hear people who kind of blindly trust it to create content, because that's what the hype is, like, oh, you can write an email that's perfect, and you can do automatic translation of languages, and you can do, creating an entire book and selling it on Amazon.
Right.
That I feel is a little overhyped from are the people who are the customers of those things going to want to read the quality of that? And I think that a lot of people buy into the hype of content creation and automatic writing, and it's going to save me hundreds of hours a year. I still firmly believe that you need to review everything that an AI gives you, especially if you're doing it in business sense. Creating a presentation, you can't just fire it off and then just copy paste and send. Like, there should be a review. You want to make it. You can kind of tell right now if AI writes an entire email to you.
I hope this email finds you well.
Yeah.
Especially if it's got the M dash character in between a bunch of sentences, and in today's challenging world is how it starts. There's just too much. It doesn't feel right. It doesn't feel like authentic. And I think you're going to lose visitors or consumers or customers if you're not authentic with your communication and your writing.
Yeah. You talk about that a lot.
I do talk about that a lot. That it's just a tool. Use it as a tool to speed up some of your steps in your process. It is not the end of the process.
Yeah.
Because exactly that. You're going to get, it's garbage in, garbage out. I mean, at that point. And it does a really good job of stringing together the content and the meat you put in there. It doesn't necessarily generate those points for you. And it shouldn't, because that's where your expertise is actually put into it. So if you don't add that in, you get a really well-written marketing copy that has no point to it. And it's just vanilla and very bland, and it hits no audience. And I think that's where you lose credibility if you use it that way. And we've all seen those emails and those articles and blog articles and white papers that have no content to it. Like, you read it and you go, I learned nothing.
Got
reading
nothing
this.
out of that. Yeah.
But it's interesting how you say that even with the AI agents, that having that loop of having that human intervention in there at almost all times in there to make sure it's on track, almost like you're managing what it's doing, but yet it speeds up everything for you to do. It can just handle it until it gets to that point to say, is this the email you want to send, or is this worded correctly, or is this now you have to add in your credit card information and buy this now? So I think that's an interesting point, that you have to have the human loop in there.
Yeah, I think like in the future, just like today, I gotta start over. Just like today, how we get in the morning, what do we usually do? We usually check our emails, or we maybe check our Teams or Slack, and we look at what's waiting for me, what's in my inbox. Right?
Yep.
In the future, it's going to be, okay, what are the agents telling me on my team? What are they surfacing to me that's important? What should I tackle based off what the agent thinks I should do? And then I'm going to click yes, yes, no, no, and what the agent says is the next step. And we won't be just...
And all the data's there. All your emails are there, and it's using that. I think that's another interesting point too, is this isn't replacing all those other apps. It's using all of those other apps, just like a person.
And it's the beauty, I think, in that is that it's surfacing the things that are important to you because you've trained it on what is important to you. Like and over time, these agents will get to know you, right? They're going to have a memory of past decisions, and they're Brian patted me on the head when I did that once, so I'm going to do that next time it happened. Like, I can see a like button or a praise button on certain tasks when it does it really well. So it learns like, oh, that's how they like that. just like an assistant over time gets to know you. They know what you want for breakfast, or they know where, what you like in your coffee. Agents will do that same thing. They'll get to learn over time what's important, and they could even align with business objectives too. So if you guys do annual planning and quarterly planning, or however you're doing it, it's going to surface things that are important to the business, because you said in the beginning of the year, like, this is what we're going to work on this year. So, hey, this is important. This is an AI email. AI is our focus this year. So make sure you pay attention to this one. Yeah. Could we flip Drew's question the other way? Like, what's something that you think is underhyped with AI? Like, what are people kind of sleeping on right now?
Another good question. You guys are being tough this morning. Yeah. I mean, I don't think enough people kind of realize that agents are coming and agents of the future. It is funny. I'm starting to see more television commercials around AI agents and things like that.
Yeah.
The Salesforce one right now comes to mind, right? And I don't think people understand what they're saying in that commercial, right? No, like, literally, this agent is going to book me this reservation based off my preferences, like you're saying, Pete. Like, it knows me. Yeah. So I would say agents are underhyped. It's not well known yet.
Yeah.
It's coming.
I think a lot of it right now, in you and I talk about this all the time, Pete, that people don't know where to jump in. And they think, oh, I've got to know all of this stuff before I can start using even like a chat GPT to start prompting, because I have to have the right prompt. Otherwise, it's not going to work. And you just start using it. Just start getting your feet wet before you learn how to swim, and to get to that point. And I don't think there's enough how to do it, you almost have to dumb it down to start, but there's not enough of that confident material out there that says, this is where you start. The tools are all there, but the how to use it in a basic sense isn't there. So I think people go, I just don't know how to use it.
I think that's a really good point.
And that was it. Thanks. Thanks for playing.
Now you got me wondering, like, the people that create and sell these agents, are they going to be able to sell it as an agent, or are they better off disguising the agent behind an app? Because people already consume apps and SaaS and stuff like that. So instead of calling it that, because apps can do all kinds of crazy stuff right now, this probably is already using AI in the background and agents, and we don't know it. And I'm just wondering if the agent thing is going to catch on, or if it's just going to be another app that's just doing it all behind the scenes anyways.
I think, to your point, I think that's where I see it going, because I am not a deeply technical, I don't know how to write code or anything, but there's going to be that Apple version, that iPhone version that comes out where it's like, oh, this is sleek, it's sexy, it's packaged up for me, it's super intuitive. Oh, and I can just add this stuff in there. Someone like you understand the entire back end of it to where you go, yeah, this is an AI agent, and this is built off of these pieces. So I think that's where it starts really penetrating a lot of the masses. Again, going back to, this is underhyped. People just don't realize what this can do because they don't realize what it can do. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. So to educate people on that, and I think you're gonna start seeing a lot of those encapsulated, packaged up apps that will do that for you.
If you're a business owner, if you're someone who works at a platform or SaaS tool, the way to prepare for all this, the thing that you should be doing now, is making sure you have good, solid APIs, because agents need APIs to work.
That's a great point.
Right.
Yeah.
So, we have a product at BizStream that we're working on in a very governmental niche space. Mm-hmm. We've got to modernize a few things to make these APIs so that certain actions can just happen, and then agents can decide what action to take, and another agent can tell it what to do, and the whole thing we've been talking about this morning. So that's still key, underline. So to your point of, like, whether it's an app, an agent, or SaaS tool, or whatever, all those things need APIs to work. So not to be too technical, but like, that's the thing I'd prepare for.
That's not too technical. We've got way nerdier than that on here. But for folks who don't know, is there a easy definition of an API that you can give so people can kind of understand, like, why that's important?
Yeah, it stands for Application Programmer Interface, right? So what it means is there's a way for someone on the outside of your business or the outside of your tool to integrate with it, to do something from my side of whatever I'm working on, to call out, do an action, like make the booking we've been talking about, or retrieve it, get me the latest events. So that way I can put it into my use case and I can make it work in my business. Or in West Michigan, we have tons of manufacturing companies. How do they take orders from their customers?
Yeah.
Right. A lot of them can do it in very old school ways. Some of them still get emails with PDFs. But if you can have APIs that both sides can talk to, more efficient, more fast, more work gets done quicker with less effort. So it's a way to be open to interaction with third parties.
Less opportunity for mistakes too, right? So if I'm getting that PDF in an email and I have to then go manually enter that into an order form, and I fat finger something, and I send 1,000 of something instead of 100 or whatever it is, API takes that out. There isn't a human in there that can mess that up, right? It's just two computers communicating with each other.
I think that's the theory that we're going to get to. I mean, there's still a lot to be desired with it, with the trust before we get to that point.
Well, I mean, there's tons of API usage right now before AI became a thing. So I think there's enough trust in APIs now where that's pretty not to say universal, but pretty well known. But I did want to ask you, are you familiar with MCP when it comes to agents?
Yep.
I've even using GPT and asking it to dumb it down for me, I feel like I'm missing something on MCP. Could you just kind of talk about why that's important to agents and kind of how it relates to what we're talking about right now with, you know, the different specific agents talking to each other and things like that?
You want to start by telling us what MCP is?
Yes.
Sure. So MCP is a model controller protocol, I believe, and it is new. It's something that's come up very recently. It's a consistent standard that tech companies are agreeing to use to put something right in between like 10 or 20 APIs and an LLM and an agent communication. So what it does is if BizStream makes it this way, if New Wave makes it this way, if Google, Facebook, whatever, we're all using that same MCP way of interacting with APIs for our AI calls or agent calls, then I can bring in like a brand new tool with knowing nothing about it, connecting it to my chatbot interface or whatever as a source, and I can now have interactive functions from that third-party company, without actually even knowing how to tie the APIs together. Because there's still work to tie APIs together. That's actually what we do a lot of. But with an MCP, if that's there, it's known, consistent across the board, and that way then the agent can have all this new features and functionality and can do new tasks, new actions, and there's no programming involved. So that's the main difference. Is like 6 months to 9 months ago, we were talking about connecting LLMs and generative chats and even early agents directly to APIs. But we'd have to know individually each one how to call it, what inputs and outputs. Security was an issue because everyone was doing it differently. But now there's like consistency, and I don't need to think about that stuff. I can just say, point it at this. And Microsoft has a great one they released for all of their GitHub, which is a source control for code. You can like do every action ever without having to write hardly any code, and you can tie it right to a chatbot. So I can grab what's my latest commit or what's my latest repo or all the things I do as a developer. So I would say that is underhyped as well. Like not enough people know about that. But that is a very technical thing that we're prototyping with some of the stuff that we do right now. So we're excited about it.
Cool. I just kept seeing it pop up, and I've yet to like really build my own agent using one of these frameworks. But there are tons of research that I've done, mostly YouTube videos. It just keeps like MCP has really come up a lot lately, and everybody's raving about it. But it does seem like Google, they came out with A2A. Is that their version?
Agent protocol.
Yeah.
Yep. So that's when two agents want to talk to each other without going to a third party thing yet.
So that's not competing with MCP?
No, they're going to work together.
Okay.
It's fun. New technology names all the time. That's where there's more that orchestration pattern where many agents are involved. You have a manager level agent, and it needs to talk to the other ones. Agent to agent is meant for that.
Okay.
To make that easier.
Okay, that makes sense. This is really helpful. I'm glad I'm listening to this podcast right now. Okay, I think that helps solidify.
Any more
something.
acronyms or letters you want to throw out?
No, I think
Yeah.
I'm good now.
Yeah.
Everybody listening is like, what in the hell are they talking about right now? I could go. I don't know how much time we got. I could really.
We got
go
to
off
wrap this up. We got to wrap this up. We're running out of time. I know it's like as soon as we start really digging into the finer points, we got to cut it. But sorry, Pete.
We'll talk outside. Then.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm sure we're
Sure.
going to keep talking. Brian, always a pleasure to have you on here. Tell our viewers where they can find you.
Well, obviously at the company shirts that we're wearing, you can check out BizStream.com as well. I do have a personal blog. I haven't paid it a ton of attention lately, but it's an old high school nickname of mine, McBeeve. So it's mcbeev.com, where I have blog posts and a lot of speaking. So I do a lot of speaking across the nation for AI and other things as part of the Microsoft connection. So, but I would say, yeah, BizStream.com, McBeeve.com. That's probably the best places to find me.
Awesome. Well, thanks for being on. Thanks for being a guest. Appreciate it.
Yeah, anytime.
Thank you.
If you would like to learn more and see some other podcasts, please like and subscribe. Thanks, everybody.